Welcome everyone to episode number 12 of Toolhouse Rock. Today we are excited to be hosting CryptoTaxCalculator. A quick recap on Toolhouse Rock. This is a recurring community call where we have projects on who are building exciting tools in the Web3 space. It's for all Web3 participants and community members, but it does have a specific focus on the endgame launch and the eventual sub-DAOs. Before we get started, a few disclaimers. Our views are our own and are not representative of Maker as a whole. Inaccuracies are possible. Information moves very quickly in this space, and especially if you're viewing this in the distant future. And finally, none of this is financial or legal advice, and especially for today, none of this is tax advice. Okay, let's take a closer look at CryptoTaxCalculator. I won't spoil too much, but I do want to talk a little bit about how we're seeing this tool applied to the Maker ecosystem. The most relevant scope we've determined is the ecosystem support scope. And next, for improvement areas, we see this tool being the most impactful for education, integration, of course, legal and regulatory compliance, and also cost. Okay, now I'm happy to welcome on Eamon. Thank you for joining us today. We are glad to have you here. I'll hand over the screen share.
Perfect. Hey, thanks for having me on and inviting us to join. So I'm Eamon, the product manager at CryptoTaxCalculator. I'll just call it CTC. Otherwise, it becomes a bit of a tongue twister the more we say it. So yeah, super happy to be on and just go through how CTC is relevant for Maker, Endgame, and basically how it's used for anyone who's involved in crypto ecosystem with a particular emphasis on people involved in DAOs. So yeah, first, I just want to run through a bit of an overview of what we are and what we do. So what's the problem we're solving? Like, what are we actually doing? Like, why do we exist as a project? I think this tweet, I saw a few months ago now, but I think it summarizes it pretty well. Everyone in crypto space who's ever thought about taxes probably thinks that they're in serious trouble, or just like the IRS is never going to know, or whatever tax jurisdiction you're in, is that, yeah, your CPA or your accountant might be a little concerned about what you're doing. So we're here to help and support, basically. So we're a self-service tool so that you still do the process yourself, but we help and assist as much as possible through as much automation. And we'll go through that in a second. So first is like, why is this important? So the typical user journey of someone in crypto is pretty standard. First thing, you just like, maybe you buy Bitcoin on your local exchange, whether it's Binance or whether it's like a particular exchange who's local in your country. Then maybe you start towards trading, maybe you even do leverage trading, you never know. And then from leverage trading, sometimes people get onto like the on-chain DeFi train and start looking at Maker, OX protocols, even like NFTs, maybe back with CryptoKitties. And then next thing you know, they might be going to pretty complex like on-chain trading, on-chain options, liquidity pools, farming, staking, and all the stuff that comes along with complex DeFi. So we are inclining more towards the right end of the spectrum, where we mostly focus on complex on-chain transactions. But of course, to support this, we have to support the easier use cases. So a lot of our users are towards the more complex side. So if I can move to the next page. Yeah, so what's no longer accepted by the crypto community is that basically this is what we aren't. We're not a software that takes super long or just like fails to input your data. Users don't like, they don't want to manually add and track on-chain activity. There's no clarity. These are all the issues. And that's basically what we solve. Not going to spend too much time on this. This is what is expected. Basically the opposite. We can handle complex stuff. We're super transparent. We automate everything. And it's built by basically DeFi degens. So the entire group, all of us, trade crypto and kind of got into the company because we were using the software, and the founders themselves, they made it because they were getting audited and they were just getting stuck and needed to figure out their own situation as they're building their own DEX relayer. So they thought, let's build this solution ourselves. And next thing you know, all of us tagged along. So we now have 250,000 users. So we're not a new player in the space. We've been around since 2017. We do have tons of integrations. So for example, 800 big integrations of like different L1s, L2s, EVM, non-EVM, centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, all the big protocols that you've ever used. I think it's more than 4,000 different protocols. Not exactly sure on the number, but it's definitely high up there. Tons of different tax methods and inventory methods. So in most countries, FIFO, LIFO, so first in, first out, last in, first out are the most popular, but we also support the UK, Canada's tax jurisdiction, South Africa's, Australia, New Zealand, and 20 plus other countries. And again, built by crypto natives, just driving that home. And we are actually used, trusted, and recommended by crypto natives. That's kind of what we like, is that we notice that if you look at all the big crypto projects, a lot of them, like personally, do use us as a platform, which we're really happy and feel fortunate about. So it's always funny when we go to these crypto conferences and I just rock up in our like CTC hoodie. It's got a big meme on the back showing CryptoTaxCalculator. The amount of people that come up and, you know, just say, hey, I use the software, or like they just have positive words to say. It's always funny to see what projects they're coming from. We get a great variety all the way. I'll just go to the next page. Don't really want to read this bit by bit. Like the Zerion team uses us, the Arbiter and Rocket Pool team use us, Bankless, both founders use us, as far as we're aware. The Phantom team, even the Phantom CEO, he uses us. So all these big guns, the Atomic Wallet CEO, they use us. So we do have a lot of big players in the space who, first of all, use us personally. And because they use us personally, we are super glad and lucky to be able to call them partners of ours. Binance as well, Coinbase Australia, a lot of other big names in there who we are able to partner up with. So that's a bit of validation of what we do. Then we also do a lot of education beyond just our product itself. So we do have a lot of free guides and introductory articles on our website. If you just don't even want to use the product, but you just want to learn about, should I even bother doing my taxes? What would even be involved if I were to do it? We all have that available. We're constantly setting up AMAs and Crypto Tax 101 sessions, not too different to this one here. And we do often consult with tons of tax lawyers and professionals from all around the globe to make sure that our tax rules are accurate. And sometimes we even write proposals for different tax jurisdictions and governments around the world. So we have been involved in a handful. So we do have quite a wide scope of what we do. I'll talk about the in-game relationship later on, maybe. The base is that anyone who's in crypto and DeFi, it just makes you order proof, gives you an ease of mind that you're not going to be audited or you're not going to get a knock at the door at 2 a.m. from the IRS. Everything's automated. And, you know, if you would like to be involved, like maybe purchasing CDC for your clients or for your, not clients, that's the wrong word, for your members and ecosystem actors, always happy to offer a discount if that is of interest. But happy to go into the demo and just go through what this looks like and what the actual, how the product works. Was there anything else you wanted me to go through before a demo? Was that happy to move on?
Yeah, let's do the demo. One quick question, and I think you mentioned a few of them, but which countries and jurisdictions are covered?
Of course. If you go to our website, we have them all right at the bottom. So let me not guess. But yeah, all these ones, Canada, US, Australia, New Zealand are pretty big. Most of Europe, South Africa as well. So yeah, all these ones here.
Excellent.
Should be
Thank you.
easy. Of course, there's a few big countries that aren't in there because they don't pay tax. So like Dubai or UAE isn't in there. Bahamas isn't in there because, you know, that's why SPF was there probably. So anyway, if you're in these other countries, you definitely will be having to pay tax. So let's get into this. So let me just start off from scratch. I don't want to set up like a special demo account or anything because I don't know, otherwise people are like dubious. It's like, oh, how does this work? It was already pre-set up. So very transparent. Just want to show this is what it looks like from scratch. There's nothing in here. So I'm just going to import a couple of my wallets. This is my .e. And then I'm also going to import my vault in a second. Import. That should only take a minute or two. Also, we'll import a Solana wallet just because. So you can see automatically. Sorry, I should explain what I'm doing. So basically, for us to actually know how much taxes you need to pay, we first need to know what transactions you've done. And to figure out what transactions you've done, we need to know what are your wallets. So here I'm saying these are my wallets. I just put in the Arbitrum. I selected the Arbitrum, but here it's like, hey, you've actually used all these other chains. You should probably import them as well. So that's what we're doing. Also going to put in my Solana. I'm just going to put Sol. Actually, it's called Phantom. Put that in. But we have tons of other integrations. I'm just going to scroll through some of these. Note out the big ones. I mean, big ones are at the top. Arbitrum, Cardano, Ethereum, of course, all the EVM chains, Solana's in there. But yeah, beyond that, we have plenty. So if you keep scrolling, you'll never reach the end. But yeah, a lot of centralized exchanges as well. So if you look at the exchanges tab, we also have these completely listed on our homepage. If you'd like to go to integrations, you'll be able to see exactly what we support once my Wi-Fi loads. So yeah, you can just keep scrolling forever and searching whatever you want. Having Coinbase, you'll see that there. We even have specific instructions on how to import your Coinbase account. So make it as simple as possible. So even for Binance, API or CSV. So we know, even though these are only read-only access, please do not give us trading keys. Not that we misuse them, but just because for safety reasons. So yeah, API and CSV both work perfectly fine. And there you go. Just a request in the chat. Does the software require proof or control of the wallet? No. So a lot of what we do here is just that we don't require proof of anything, I'd say is a way to put it. So for example, when you sign up, you can sign up with any email you could use test@gmail.com. That's fine with us. Like we don't need to, like if you're already filing taxes, the government can know who you are because you're going to pay your taxes, but you don't need to KYC with us. Don't need to give us your ID, your address or anything else. We just need an email address to send you a receipt if you do pay, and Stripe requires that. So we are very security conscious in that aspect. And because of that, we've decided that like we don't ask you to connect wallet or sign something or anything along those lines, just because we're conscious of, security conscious users who don't just want to be signing things on random websites. So yeah, all this information's on chain. So yeah, you can theoretically put in anyone else's address. Like you could put in my address if that's fine, but yeah, that's what we do. So that's all synced. You can see here, already pulled in all those transactions. So I'm just going to go through and show some of these. No transactions found. There you go. It's going to say, I hope not. So this is what the transactions page looks like. So this is basically a huge dump of all the transactions that you've inputted all across all of your different wallets. First thing you'll see is that, first of all, there's a lot of transactions, 1,600 in here. We support up to just over 100,000. I think 150,000 depends exactly on the types of transactions. We are looking to increase that, but should have more than plenty. Yeah, especially if you're an on-chain degen, 100,000 should be more than enough, even if you have lots of staking rewards. And what I want to do is I just want to go through and show something that we do, which is called like auto categorization, or just like smart suggestions and that kind of thing. So if I go through my transactions, notice that a lot of these are incoming just because I was testing out some pretty complex trade types. But you can see here, a lot of this stuff is automatically labeled. So these trades are automatically labeled. There's approvals as well, these staking rewards. So for example, for this one in particular, we have a full support for all Curve transactions. So if you've done anything on Curve and you import the wallet that has done Curve transactions into the app, everything will be automatically categorized. So that's due to our smart suggestions engine that we have specifically created rules for Curve. And I'm just going to actually filter by all of these transactions, just so you can see that. My computer's a little slow today, so it might struggle. Just refresh the page. Here we go. Yeah, and we're always increasing as well the number of protocols that we are automatically supporting, but only show smart categorized transactions. Cool. So you can see here, I've got some loan repayments on, can't even remember the protocol. It's probably on Aave. You can see here, I've got some Tarot transactions, some mints, some burns, some staking deposits on what looks like is, Trader Joe on Avalanche, if I'm not mistaken. All these staking rewards and withdrawals all automatically done. Same with using Drip. That's there, even Blur is automatically categorized. tons of PancakeSwap transactions. What else do we have? PancakeSwap v3, bit of a Uniswap v3 fork. Then we have all these bridge transactions automatically done. So I think we have full support for hop across. I forgot the other popular bridges, but let's say we have a lot of smart contracts and a lot of protocols that are automatically categorized. So just kind of want to draw that home that this is a big thing what we do. So for example, the Arbitrum airdrop, transactions like that. If you import your wallet that has done these transactions into the app, you won't have to do a single thing. So this is what we try to do. We just try to make your life so much easier. You might be asking yourself, why do you even need to categorize these transactions? And why can't you do everything for me? Like, why is this only 400 of 1600? Why is it not every single one? Two reasons. The first one is that if we look at, let's filter by just an outgoing transaction. And I'll need to, cool. So let's just say this SOL transaction. And let's say that instead of 0.22, it was like 22 SOL, something a little bit more significant. So this 22 SOL that is outgoing, why do we need to categorize and select exactly what it is? Well, because there's very different tax treatments based on what on earth this transaction is. So for example, if this is an OTC sell, so maybe you sold some SOL and you bought an NFT OTC, then of course that's a disposal event, because if you sold the SOL, sounds funny, but if you sold SOL, then this is a taxable event. However, if this other address that is receiving the SOL, if this is actually your wallet that you just have forgotten to import or you haven't imported yet, then of course this is going to be a transfer between wallets and therefore it's not taxable. There's many other scenarios. So for example, this could be a bridge. You could be sending this to a bridge address, in which case, depends on who you ask, but it may or may not be taxable. Same with staking. This might be a staking transaction and depends on where you are, may or may not be taxable. So that's why we do ask, or that's why you need to actually categorize these transactions to have an accurate tax report, just because that changes your tax statement. So your fees as well, margin fees, loan repayments, fiat withdrawal, all of this stuff all impacts exactly how much you pay in tax. So we do give you tips and suggestions, of course, along the way. We do make it as simple as possible, but there's only so much that we can do. So for example, here in this random outgoing SOL, the transaction signature is create account, not very useful. This is what's provided to us by SolScan, and it's going to a random wallet address. If I look at SolScan here, it's probably not going to give me too much info. For EVMs, it's a little bit easier, but even then, not by much. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can get much information off this. Tensor looks like it might be due. This is a big NFT marketplace, so might be something to do with an NFT transaction. And if so, I could leave a comment saying NFT TX maybe, and leave a comment there so I can remind myself. But for transactions like this, there's just no way to know unless you've done the transaction. But of course, we are improving our algorithm over time to make it as easy as possible. But enough about that. Let's go to the reports page, which is kind of what you use a tax software for. So you can see here, what's the number? I've got, for this financial year that I've selected, $2,800 in capital gains, according to the calculations that have been made. And you can see here exactly where these values came from. So a lot of these come from trades where, of course, when you trade something, you sell something and buy something else. So if you're selling if you're trading ETH for DAI on Uniswap, you're still selling your ETH. Even though like it's a crypto to crypto trade, in most tax jurisdictions, that is still counted as a disposal, so a sell and a buy. Hence why it would be a taxable event. Same with buying and selling NFTs, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that would come from trades. I've also got a lot of burn transactions, a few airdrops that would count as income, staking rewards that would count as income, all these different transactions there. So of course, if I click on any of these, it'll be able to show me exactly which ones. We make it as transparent as possible. So you don't have to trust us. We do kind of have a thesis of like show, don't tell. So we don't just tell you how much you owe. We actually show you exactly how much you owe and give a reasoning behind it. Hence why exactly every single row, we show you exactly the capital gain or loss for that particular row. Then you have your tax reports. Of course, these very much vary depending on what country you're in. I've selected an Australian account. So this will be an ATO, my tax report. For US accounts, we have the IRS, like TurboTax, 1040Ds, 8949s, all that kind of stuff. But beyond that, we have report summaries, capital gains reports, income, transactions, if you want it line by line, miscellaneous expense reports, which might be good if you are, if you've paid for business expenses on chain. that could be a useful one for you if you're running a business. Inventory report, just so you can see exactly what you held at the beginning, at the end of a financial year. Derivative trading report, if you are doing some hectic degen trading and leverage trading normally. Audit transaction report, just so if you do get audited, you can show exactly what modifications you've made and what values came directly from us. Outgoing gifts and lost stolen assets. This might be impactful if you've gotten rugged quite a few times and you're trying to claim a big loss. And a trading stock report if you are trading as a business. I might just download the report summary just to give an idea of what these might look like. If you're also using like TradFi software, let's call it, we do also connect with Xero. It's normally an accountant feature, but we know some businesses and some crypto degens who do like that. And beyond that, after that, I'll show off the dashboard real quick. Some more maybe power user features as well. Cool. So that's loaded. So yeah, this is what it might look like. Yeah, so we just give you the report details like country, currency, and then the numbers that you're looking for are basically here. Depends exactly what way you're filing, but this first page is all you need to know. And then the next page, we have the warnings that you have. So for example, it's like, hey, sure, these are the values that we've provided you with, but be careful because you literally have 314 uncategorized transactions that could significantly impact these values. So again, being as transparent as possible. And then line by line, we just show you exactly where these numbers came from. So Arbitrum, not going to go through these one by one, but we do have report summaries to back up exactly the values that we're showing. Now you might be asking yourself, okay, that's 300 transactions for me to go through. That sounds like a pain. And it would be if we weren't here. And we try and assist as much as possible. So you can see I categorized, I think it was one transaction I categorized, that Solana one. And without that, I still have 65% that have been automatically categorized, which I would call is quite impressive, just considering the transactions that I've personally done. I basically stress tested all the big protocols across all the big chains. So the fact that basically 2/3 are automatically categorized is I call that quite impressive. But let's look at here. So essentially what we do is here we're sorting by the highest value. So of course, what's this number, this savings opportunity? This basically means is that, hey, you have a total of $18,000 worth of transactions that we don't know what category they are, or we don't know exactly the tax impact. So we say, hey, you might want to look at the highest value ones first. So for example, here, I've got this minus 4.2 ETH. I don't exactly remember what this was, but I remember this from remittance was definitely a receive from this wallet I haven't imported. So I'm just going to call that receive and see what happens. Cool. Now what you'll notice is that automatically there are a lot of receives from this one wallet because of course it's mine. I've forgotten to import it right now. I'll do that maybe later. But these are 16 similar transactions. So as soon as you categorize one, we look through all your transactions and we're like, hey, what other transactions do you have that look the exact same? So that way you don't have to categorize this 16 times, you just do it once. So for example, if you have staking rewards every single hour, might be a pain if you have to select them one by one, but if you only have to select one, we'll select the rest for you, basically. That's the gist of things. This incoming and outgoing kind of looks like a bridge. Don't really know. I'm just going to guess bridge out, bridge in, sick. Oh, there you go. I actually haven't done this before, so good to test that our software works. I haven't used my own wallets for a demo. So you kind of get the idea is that you basically categorize it one by one, especially for the highest value transactions. And then from there, we give you all these suggestions along the way. So this outgoing, I'm pretty sure I was actually sending it to Tornado Cash, maybe. So I'm just going to mark that as a send. And this other one, yeah, accept. So that's kind of the gist of things. And you categorize all the big as much as possible. Then we also have other pages like missing market price. So it's like, hey, we have no idea how much PLS Jones was worth. Could you please tell us how much it was worth? So then you just click here. You just either ignore the warning if it actually was worth 0, or you just tell us exactly how much it was. Nice and easy. Couldn't be simpler, really. You can even like price it in ETH if my computer wasn't glitching. You could even price it in ETH, AUD, or USD as well. And then we also have like very advanced views. So if you are a bit of a, let's say, accounting legend, or you do like to go through everything line by line, which of course accountants do, but also if you're just very yeah, just like really want to triple check, of course, where these values are coming from. We have what we call a ledger view, which is essentially, if I click on this, it gives you, in the accounting word, it's called a ledger for all the transactions related to this currency. So you can see the ins and outs is what we call it. So in this transaction here, the remittance one that I actually just categorized earlier, it shows you the incoming balance and the overall balance of what you had at that time. It shows you all the incomings and outgoings. So the scenario here is that you can't spend more than what you have. And here it's like, hey, you must have somehow spent more than what you gained because you're now negative ETH position by balance. So this tells us that you must have, I mean, if you read this, some acquisitions may be missing, uncategorized or categorized incorrectly, yada, yada. So we do have other versions of this and other pages and other warnings and other suggestions. And of course, you can do this for every single currency that you own, which is a bit excessive. But if you'd like to do that, go for it. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that we're very transparent. If you'd like to deep dive into every single transaction, every single line, if you expand this, you can see exactly, okay, let me go to Etherscan. Let's find exactly where this came from. Or you can see what was the contract function, the function signature, sorry, where is it coming from? Let's look at this address for more details. Like you can look at all of that if you'd like, or you can just go to the reports page and do the suggestions and go from there. So that's a big thing of what we do. Other power features, you can change the inventory method to like most tax effective. We also do have a tax loss harvesting page. Very well used this year compared to other years. Let's put it that way. So basically we can see, hey, there's this NFT that you might have spent a bit too much money on. If you sold that now, you might be able to harvest this many losses. Or what if you maybe sold at a different price compared to zero? Let's say maybe you somehow managed to sell it for $100 in a lucky day. That's what it would look like. So a lot of features there. Of course, you can go back as many years as you'd like. So you don't just have to sign up today, pay for a report for this financial year. You can go back to 2013 or even earlier if you want to make your own dates. Go for it. And that is all the big stuff. Beyond that, minor details whilst we're here. We, again, very transparent about how we actually calculate your taxes. So of course, this number on this page is based on the reports page, sorry, is based on our best understanding, our best knowledge through our tax consultants and tax lawyers that we work with and accountants that we work with in each country to set up these tax rules. But of course, you might have different opinions and we have nothing against that. So if you would like to make everything non-taxable, feel free to adjust the toggles and literally turn everything to zero. But we do have default settings that vary based on each country, of course. So some countries mining is income, some countries it's not. Some countries airdrops are income, some countries are not. Sometimes you have to ignore Forex conversion, sometimes you don't. Default threshold might exist. So things like that. Everything is adjustable. And of course, we have a portfolio tracking page because we have your transactions. We may as well help you see your losses or gains maybe on a good year. You can adjust that over time. And that is a bit of a demo. If you forget where your ETH is, you can see exactly where you have it, in which wallets. So we do also have this portfolio tracking, not the biggest focus of ours, but of course, bit of a side quest. But yeah, our biggest thing is just helping you do your tax reports, basically. It's a bit of a demo. Did you have any questions, or was there anything in the chat that I should bring up real quick? Good point. Pricing, I always forget. So everything not everything actually, that's a lie. Most of the things I've shown you are available on a free plan. So not everything, because that would be the entire product. You can import everything for free. And we don't even ask for a credit card, just for email. You can review your transactions for free. You can categorize everything for free. You can look at your dashboard, do all of that for free. The reports page to the right, so the reports page and the tips, that's where it's paid. And because once you have these numbers, you have these numbers, and then you can run away forever. So these are the two paid pages. And pricing wise, it depends on the country, but I'll show the US pricing because it's pretty similar elsewhere. It's almost purely based on the number of transactions. So this free tier just means you can't download a report, which is not so useful if you're trying to do your taxes. But yeah, $49.99, $249, $499, billed yearly. And in 1 year, you can make as many tax reports as you'd like. So if you want to go back to 2013, go for it. If you just want to do 1 year, go for it. And this is your total number of transactions. So with regards to payment with crypto, unfortunately, we don't accept that yet, but that will be coming in the future. But yeah, right now, just through, yeah, we take payments through Stripe, so credit card payments. This tax will give an alert. Not necessarily alerts, like we don't have an in-app notification or something. It's like, hey, you have to file your taxes in 3 hours, watch out. But we do send out promotional emails to our customers in different countries. So for example, Australia, the tax, let's say the financial year ended at end of June. So on the 1st of July, you'll get an email saying, hey, financial year just ended, do your taxes. It's more of a, please come back and use the app kind of thing. But of course, you can also use it as a bit of a reminder. Same like towards the end of tax season, October 31st is the deadline. We'll send a few emails in October saying, make sure to do your taxes, use CTC. So we don't have like specific notifications, but of course, we do have reminder emails saying, come back, basically. Yes. Easy. Is there anything else in the pricing I've missed? Oh, we have a great support team, 10 out of 10. So they're always there. Super good guys. What else do we have? Tax loss harvesting, went through that. Yeah, I'll talk maybe through a little bit more of the suggestions real quick, just because it is a really big part of what we do and what differentiates us. And this is what you'll notice if you use us versus competitors, because of course, we're not the only ones in the market. There are, I'd say, just over a dozen serious competitors that are around. But we're the only ones that are really focused on the on-chain or like the DeFi market in general. Just because if you are looking at only supporting, I don't know, Binance, KuCoin, like all the big exchanges, Kraken, whatever, it's pretty easy because you just import the APIs or you import the CSV files and basically pass them and put them into a fancy table and give you a number. And that's pretty simple. Like we've done that since Excel kind of existed. The harder bit is trying to get an on-chain ledger and then converting that into like a accounting system and then giving everything a category when like that's just not how, that's not exactly how blockchain works. So for example, here you can see these are all spam transactions. So I can actually just easily bulk categorize. I'm going to say this one also looks pretty spammy. This one looks pretty spammy. Whatever, I'll just go there. And then you can just mark it spam. Like we have all these bulk functions, all these like power user functions. The more you use the app, the more you'll find these. Don't want to overwhelm everyone from the get-go. Yeah, you can just mark it as spam and you're good to go, confirm before they run away into the abyss. You can also like invite your accountant if you'd like. So if you do have an accountant who is brave enough to assist you going through your crypto taxes, that is always an option. You can invite them in, you can collaborate together. You can even add comments. I think I showed that earlier. So you can talk with your accountant, be like, I think this is a scam. And then if I can type properly, and they can assist. You can even mark transactions as reviewed. So maybe let's say, hey, I've gone through this entire page of transactions. I actually want to mark them all as reviewed. So my accountant knows that I've looked at them and that I actually, that I'm actually on top of my taxes. That's also possible. Tons of filters all over the shop. So we do heavily account for power users and people who have seriously complex transactions. That is a lot of our user base, hence why you noticed earlier, a lot of the big brands in the crypto space are the ones who use us, because if you've used Uniswap once and you have one wallet on one chain, fair enough, go to a competitor, you'll probably be fine. If you are using multiple wallets, multiple chains, you've got rugged multiple times, and you're working with like multiple DAOs, then good luck using a competitor. It's kind of how we put it. Yeah, and that's just most of the demo, unless there's something particular. And yeah, back to the endgame relationship, kind of makes more sense now. Really ease of mind, audit-proof, and automation are the biggest three things we do. And that's kind of the biggest benefits for ecosystem actors in the space, is that, of course, not everyone is doxed or KYC'd. So there are users who do choose to, let's say, evade taxes and not pay. Their decision, not ours, we don't really mind. I mean, legally we do mind, but of course, just don't use the app, that's fine. But if you do choose to pay your taxes, we're always there to help assist and just make the process as easy as possible. I think if you look at our homepage, that's actually what we say. We say like, yeah, sort out your crypto tax nightmare, because it is a nightmare. And that's what exactly how people describe it over and over again in user interviews. So we're here to sort that out. Cool. Is there anything else I could assist with or go through?
Thank you, Eamon. Excellent demo. One question that came to mind for myself is if a user decides to submit their taxes with uncategorized transactions, yeah, I guess how does that work? I'm sure it differs a little bit on the transaction type, but if you could just share a little bit about that.
Course. So there are a few different warnings that, oh, my browser's like dying. There are a few different warnings that do appear, and each one we treat slightly differently. So for these uncategorized transactions, we just assume that it's a non-taxable event. So for example, yeah, here we just assume, okay, it's an outgoing, you didn't dispose of the asset because we're not sure. So that happens. So you could be severely underreporting, but in other scenarios, you might actually be over-reporting, especially if you are selling something at a loss. Like it is a little bit nuanced, but essentially we're making some not so accurate assumptions purely because it could be anything. With missing market prices, it's different. So like if we don't know how much something is worth, we just assume it's worth zero, which sometimes is correct if you're just like selling an NFT project for like, I don't know, like you're selling a rug for $0, that's fine. But then maybe here it might actually be a LP position that has $100,000 of yours that you transferred it to like a staking contract. We just assume it's zero, but that also means that you might be severely underreporting by $200,000 because it was actually worth $200,000. Missing purchase history. This one gets a little bit tricky because let's say, according to the software, I've only bought 1 ETH on FTX, not anymore, but whatever. And then a week later, I sold 2 ETH. I know the price of the 1 ETH that I sold, but what's the price of the other ETH? So then we assume you bought it for zero, when it's very unlikely that you bought ETH for $0. So then you'd be over-reporting. So it's just different depending on the type of issues you have, hence why it's better not to have too many issues. Hence why we actually show the tax impact. So ideally, every single person went through every single one of these issues and worked through them with an accountant or on their own. But we know that's not exactly reasonable for most people. So hence why you're like, if I'm over or under by $300, that's fine. But maybe $25,000 might be a bit of a stretch. So that's kind of why we assist with that. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Very helpful.
No worries. Probably the last thing I forgot to go through. Not really much of a feature, but if you'd like to learn more about taxes in general, I know it's super hot and sexy topic, but we do have a huge, US crypto tax guide. If you look up most other countries, we have them. Like we have I don't know why my browser's dying, but we have like an Italian crypto tax guide. If you just go here, you can see NFT ones, trading it as a business, what that looks like, crypto 101s. Probably don't need this one if you're on this call, but let's say these other ones, you can see all the major countries, we have a big tax guide. So you can go through that 30-minute read sometimes. So it's pretty long, pretty sizable, but this has all the information that you'd ever need. And we do work with a lot of, very high profile tax lawyers and tax accountants, for example, Andrew Gordon. So that's that. If you want to read more, that's the place to go for more info. Spanning.
And are there similar guides or resources for, say, different transaction types? I know some users might be curious about, providing liquidity to a pool or, the different tax treatment of staking versus maybe, using a liquid staking protocol and, similar transactions that might not be immediately apparent how they're treated under tax law.
No, definitely. So this is where the line kind of crosses from where we can, where we're just a software that helps you calculate your taxes to actually providing like tax advice. So, that's why we have huge disclaimers everywhere. So we do have best guesses based on like what we know and what we have, but it's like what we're told by the IRS and other jurisdictions. But it's also common that sometimes there's just no information, that the IRS just hasn't clarified anything. There's no precedent. So you kind of just have to make a best educated decision. So for example, here with this LP tokens, categorizing liquidity provisions, like adding liquidity, what that looks like. We kind of go through the pros, not the pros and cons, but why taxable perspective, why people think the reasons why people think that it might be taxable and the reasons why people think it might not be taxable. And then we kind of give our best guess and let you come to your own conclusion. So we do that for quite a few transactions and categories, and you can just see that on our website. But otherwise, if it does get very complex, that's where it'd be best to just contact a tax lawyer and discuss it with them. If you do have some high volume or high value trades, let's say. But yeah, a lot of the stuff is on our website, basically.
And yeah, anything else you'd like to leave us with before we wrap up here in a few minutes? This has been great. Thank you very much.
No worries. Not particularly. If you want to get in touch, feel free to DM us, DM the company on Twitter. Myself or someone else will look at those, or it's probably the easiest. So you can find me on Twitter as well. I'm Aim_8. Might just find myself on Twitter real quick. Either way works. And yeah, beyond that, just always happy to hear user feedback. If anyone tries it out, or just like runs into any issues, or just, I don't know, have any more questions, always happy to be contacted and provide more info there. That's about it. No, we're just here to sort out your tax nightmare. It's not the sexiest topic, but if you do choose to do your taxes, we're here, basically.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Eamon. And yeah, actually, one more question from myself. Yeah, what do the support resources look like? Is it sort of live chat if you have specific questions, or need help getting walked through a process or something like that?
Yeah, of course. So we do have, for basically any of our paid plans, I think we have a priority support. Oh yeah, so for our top plan, we have high priority support. But for these 3 middle tiers, which is where a lot of our users are, our support team gets in touch within a few hours. So depends exactly. Like if you're on the last day of tax season, then of course it'll be a little bit longer just because everyone's trying to send a message. But expect like between 2 to like 12 to 24 hours, like max, is kind of what we aim for. Priority support will be less than that. So if you're an accountant or if you're a top tier trader in the trader package, that's what to expect. But yeah, so if you'd like anything more than that, that's probably where getting a DIY, like your own accountant, would make the most sense. But we also have tons of resources like help docs everywhere. I think we literally have hundreds of help docs in the app. So that should explain a lot of the things. So if you go here, help, you'll see everything you need, everything you ever need to read through about CTC. But yeah, great support team that we have, super insightful, and all of them are degens. I think all of them have actually gotten rugged at least once. So they're definitely across the user stories. Yeah.
Nice. Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on today. We really appreciate you sharing your time and expertise with us. Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.